there's also a lot to look back on with fondness, not necessarily even just Billiken athletics, but as a SLU community. I think we, as a SLU fan community, a lot to look back on.
I think being a Billikens fan is the ultimate lesson in you're never just going to have one year that's all good
Yeah.
or all bad. It's always going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. We're always going to be a little bit of an underdog. There are things that are going to go beyond our expectations. There are things that are going to disappoint us, and that's how it is. It is a shame that some of the, as you say, vibes lately have not been great. Here at the end of the year, tough loss in men's basketball, some other stuff off the field with different programs going on that's been a little not great. But again, you're right. There is a lot to look back on this year and still be happy about, still be proud of.
Yeah, I think first off, the biggest news of the year, and I want to go off the field first. Humphrey's reopening. This was something that I know we were excited about. West Pine Bills was excited about. Everybody on Billikens.com was excited about. SLU Twitter. It was just everybody was pumped up, and I think on behalf of the Billiken fan community, I think we need to we owe a giant thank you to Sarah Sanders Davis and John Harris. Those are the two business partners that faithfully recreated a SLU staple, and it took them 2 years of tireless work to do so, Pete.
Yeah, it's incredible too to walk in there. I cannot. I know I said it a few weeks ago, but I cannot overstate the feeling I got walking in there and just being transported back, 15, 20 years ago all over again. Well, maybe not 20 years quite, but it's incredible. They did a pretty faithful restoration of that place too.
It's
It's like cleaner and nicer and like
yes,
better in a lot of ways.
I
But they didn't like wash off any of the charm of the place either. It's
right.
still Humphreys. It's not like some, corporate whitewashed version of what Humphreys was.
No, and I think it's funny. I kind of thought about it like it's kind of like remember in the Titanic when they first go into the like where they go back to when the ship is all new. Like it's kind of like that, the color washes over. I think that was in the Titanic. The color washes over and everything comes back to life. I think that
Yeah,
was it.
sure.
Maybe I'm thinking of some other movie. But it's one of those scenes where they go into history and it goes from black and white to like full color. It was kind of like that walking in.
I think you're right. I'm never prepared to speak to any of your movie references, but they're normally things I've not seen in 25 years. But regardless, I think you've got it right, and I know what you're trying to say, and I agree completely. They did a great job with it. I haven't eaten there yet, but I'm told the food's pretty good too. From
It
from
is. It
yeah,
is.
from
Yes.
what I'm hearing, and they've got more than just Bud Light, but that's all I've had there so far, for old time's sake. So uh kicking it
They're
old school when I go in there.
they're doing a slightly modified version of penny pitchers. They're not selling, every pitcher in the joint. They've kind of limited it to a certain amount of pitchers. And you got to get in there and get one early, but you always did. But
Yeah.
yeah, they said the place. I mean, and of course, when I say this, this is not. People got to remember this isn't what it wasn't. The Mangelsdorfs who they sold it. So
Right.
they said it was an absolute disaster when they got in there. Like it was disgusting. It was, it hadn't been touched in 2 years.
Yeah.
And but they said the bones were fine. Like it was,
Right.
everything was great on it. That like stability wise and all that. But they said it was a mess.
I remember when it was first purchased by, whoever owned it in the
Mhm.
meantime basically was sitting on the property to try
Mhm.
and flip it. It didn't really go to their plans, but I remember some of the designs they drew up just to
Hilarious.
pretend that they were going to do something with it. I'm glad that never happened though, but it is a shame that they let it sit idle for 5 years or whatever. That's a real bummer.
And you knew they weren't going to do anything with it when they
Oh yeah,
started
no, they
when
were
they started when they
flippers.
started selling off the all of the memorabilia, which was
Yeah,
really sad.
yeah.
I think that was kind of depressing. um I think you mentioned earlier that mixed bag, and I think what SLU fans are starting to come around to is that if you really want to continuously have an entertaining SLU experience as it pertains to the Billikens, I think you got to be a men's soccer and women's soccer fan.
Absolutely. I mean, I always feel like if you go to SLU, you already got to pay attention to those programs because they're special programs. There's a lot of history there, and we're not a football school. You know, that's
Right.
that's our homecoming game. It's our identity. Whether you're into soccer or not, I mean, it's definitely it's there. It's an institution. And yeah, I mean, men's soccer again wins the A10 championship, make it to the NCAA second round. They only go out in a close game against the eventual runner up in the country. The men's soccer is back, and they're in really good shape. And this is going to be the program to beat in the A10 for a long time.
Yep, NCAA tournament second round. We got a really nice kind of old school matchup between the Billikens and the Hoosiers there.
Hmm.
That was fun. Didn't turn out the way I don't think anyone wanted, but so be it. Indiana went to the final. So you can say you lost to the runner up. I think you'll take that, especially with the roster turnover they had. On the women's side, five-time A10 champions, NCAA tournament for the fifth time in a row. Katie Shields, I mean, you can't, I, I can't say much more.
No, and they broke like every program record on the way
Yeah.
this season. It's incredible. You know, wins, goals, goal margin, just anything. You know, shutouts. Right? They got shutouts.
Yeah.
Just about everything you could do in in the course of a season for the program. It is a shame things ended so early. I know they had more to give us, more to show. We know how special that program is, and it's I'm sorry that 8 of them are moving on. They won't get another shot, next season to do it again. But again, just like with the men's program, I mean, even more so with the women's program, the A10 title goes through St. Louis for the foreseeable future. And can't say enough good things about that program and what they're doing.
Speaking of soccer, I think on the podcast side, I think we owe a big thank you to those who really made our fall soccer heavy content extremely popular, and I think that includes we owe a thank you to the teams. But also beyond that, the women's soccer players, their families that listen, as well as the men's soccer players and their families, and as well as men's soccer and women's soccer fans that maybe aren't as basketball heavy fans as we are.
It's great. It's nice when I love the feeling of like, somebody either pops up in our mentions or otherwise, like they run into you at an event and say something. I'm always surprised by who is listening and how often and why and all of those things. And it seems like soccer was kind of the door in for a lot of people this season, and that's great. And I hope they stick with us. I hope they're, SLU athletic department fans through and through, like they're rooting for all the programs and not just soccer. But at the same time, we're happy any amount of listens, people who pop in for one episode or whatever, people who are parents and they're only going to listen, maybe while their kid is playing at SLU or whatever. Grateful for everybody who listens and happy that I think we do the right thing by covering every program and offering fans of the non men's basketball program something to you know there's not much media coverage for those other things. So the fact that we're doing it, I think, is cool, and that it has become kind of a two-way conversation for a lot of these sports, and I really like that, and excited to see where that goes in the future.
Definitely thank you to those in the athletic department that have uh, supported this show and have appreciated what we're doing and made it known to us that they do appreciate. Of course, we're talking about uh, explicitly Katie Shields for coming on the show. Kevin Kalish, even though that was actually in I believe 2021. But Rebecca Tillett for hopping on the show. it's tough to come in the way she did. And have the the stones to come on the show. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, we're not gotcha like we're not gotcha people here, but at the same time, you've got a fan base that's like, whoa, like what? And
yeah.
Rebecca Tillett still, came on the show and had and answered our questions as to the best of her ability, and God bless her for that.
Yeah, she was great. She gave us an hour, and I mean, not to mention, we've had Phil Forte,
Oh yeah,
Travis Ford came on
yeah,
another time. It's been great. Coach Hendrickson,
yeah.
Coach Bell, with track and field and cross country. It's over time to see that what we're doing is being noticed and that people appreciate it and we appreciate them. I think it's a good cycle for all of us. Because we obviously love the program and not just the individual pieces of it, but we care about all of it and are excited to tell their stories and let them tell their stories too.
One, I think the funniest part of my notes here is the next part, and that's the special thanks to Bob Ramsey. There's not a single person in St. Louis Billiken, the St. Louis Billiken community that has championed us uh, as much as for their visibility, right? There are a bunch of our listeners that champion us constantly on Twitter, but as far as visibility and people that are well known within the building community, there's not a single person that has tweeted at us more than Bob Ramsey, or replied to us, or retweeted, or liked. It's been Bob the whole time, and I mean, he's been incredibly complimentary when I've got to talk to him, and supportive, and just keep doing what you're doing. And God damn it, I cannot thank Bob Ramsey enough.
And it wasn't this year that he came on the show, but he has come on before. The
Yes.
fact that he knows who we are is amazing. The fact that he cares enough to interact with us, come on the show, whatever it is thrilling. He's somebody whose voice I've been listening to for a long time.
Yeah.
Got to know him a little bit when I was a manager with the program, and it's so great to have him supporting us in that way. Like you said, it's just really exciting.
Of course, we mentioned our guests and we mentioned coaches specifically, but I mean, we had Cam Redding, Simon Betcher, Emily Nichols, Toby Gillen. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. All of the basketball recruits. Thank you for coming on the show. I mean, we wouldn't have, episodes in the mid 200s if they didn't, retweet, share the show with their friends and family and people in their community. So thank you for keeping our show going in the again, mostly in the summer too.
And relevant,
Yeah,
Lindsay
exactly.
Heckel, Johnny Klein most recently, and
Yes.
Klein, there were some like St. Louis City SC fan accounts.
Yeah.
One of them's like recruiting or I can't remember exactly what it was, retweeting like our show. And so as those fan bases grow, we're kind of getting noticed when we have people on like that too. And like you said, it drives numbers, but it's also it's just it's cool to get to know these people a little bit, hear what they're all about, and be able to feature them. I really like that aspect of this.
Yeah, I think one of the really not overlooked. I don't want to say overlooked, but I want to say one of the things that maybe has gone under the radar uh, has been the emergence of Colin Surrey and his role with Billiken women's volleyball, women's basketball, baseball, and softball. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch him completely elevate these broadcasts on ESPN Plus. Uh, he's just fantastic.
He is, and I mentioned it last show about how good it was to
Right.
hear him when I walked in the arena doing the women's game, and he's really good. Like you, it just immediately he's got a good voice. Everything about his delivery is really good. He's got an endless amount of facts that he dips into and slow moments. He really, I think coming up in baseball has given him a skill set
Hmm.
that maybe people who start in other sports don't develop as quickly because they're just so focused on the play by play and a little bit quicker action. But he's got a really unique skill set that he's constantly polishing by doing so many different sports for SLU and McHenry, and who else is he doing locally? Like Webster or
I'm not sure. I have
but
to check on it, but
regardless,
I definitely know McKendry.
yeah, so regardless, I mean he's really he's developing very quickly, and I
Yes.
really hope that he gets noticed by some of the bigger local, broadcasting affiliates, because
Yes.
I think he's a real talent, and it would be a shame to lose him, but man, I
Yes.
think he's got a real future.
No, it needs to be. I think the athletic department would be absolutely crazy to not at least put him in the mix for the full time replacement of Dan McLaughlin on TV. I don't care how young he is. Like, I don't care how inexperienced he is, quote unquote. The dude's a pro and he's going to go as far as he wants to in that industry.
Give him a few, if
Give
I'm
him
one of
one
those
game.
people, yeah, give him a couple low stakes kind
Yes.
of
Give him
uh
Fordham at home.
yeah, something like that, where you don't think
Or an
it's
ESPN. Like, it would be
super
good.
high
Like,
stakes. You need somebody. You've got a couple color commentary guys who can come in. Give him a shot, and I think he'll deliver.
oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Then the guy, he has the passion, and he has
Yeah.
the like yeah, it's crazy. We had two buildings put in, or in the
One
process of being built.
one
Yes.
open, one broke ground.
Yes. Champion Center, the O'Loughlin Champion Center, and then the Men's and Women's Soccer Legacy Center. Both of them broke ground this year. And the Legacy Center has obviously already opened, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So those are two things that the athletic department has really, they've succeeded in fundraising. They've succeeded in just putting up just really beautiful facilities, and I just would love to see them succeed on the field more, and of course in other areas. I think.
I hope these facilities aren't the end, that they are two more building blocks on the way to a full modern athletics campus. I know we talked a lot in the last show and many other shows, dozens of other shows, about kind of our wish list, and we don't need to get into that now for future facilities, but my hope is that they don't open, the Champion Center and think we've done it, we've
Yeah.
got it, because I still think there's a way to go. But these are great, and I think they've become essential in having a nationally competitive full suite of athletic programs.